What attracted you to Wawa?
So after college, which now feels like a long time ago, and I'm in a university setting, I went into public accounting at a firm, Deloitte, and I had a number of clients. And the nice thing about that was you're really able to see a lot of different business models, a lot of different business types, and for me also culture, because you're embedded in the company, in the building, in their headquarters for sometimes months at a time. And Wawa pretty quickly, like luck of the draw, was a client. I went into the retail industry part at Deloitte, so I had a lot of retail type clients, but there was something different about Wawa. Not the business so much, but what happened and how the culture and how they treated people inside was pretty unlike. Retail's a low margin business, so it can be a little grind and gritty at times, but it wasn't really like that at Wawa. So I had the opportunity a number of years after being at Deloitte to join a role in accounting at Wawa, and I never looked back. So that was 27 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, actually, we are going to talk about Wawa, but tell us, because we have a lot of students here, and we aspire to also become CEO, not lead goose.
Yep.
So tell us, 27 years brought you from, in accounting, moving from Deloitte, another prestigious company. Tell us kind of a little bit about your life story and what took you to that lead role. Oh, the bottom of the chart.
Yes, yeah, and that's sort of how we operate. And I think it's right for a service-oriented company to operate like that. But I got an accounting degree at a similar prestigious school, if you will, at Villanova, and started at Deloitte, like you know. But at Wawa, I never today, I've been nice enough to spend a little time with Adam, who I know from home, who was a student here, and Nicholas I met today, and I can tell they probably have life a little bit more planned out already than I probably do at 53 years old, or certainly did when I graduated college. I didn't leave Deloitte or even Villanova thinking I'd be a CEO. When I got into the corporate world, I'll be honest, I struggled a bit at Deloitte. Back then, there wasn't really a good set of programs that universities have done so much better on matriculating into the workforce from the college world and life. And I grew up with 3 older brothers and a father, all who were in very small business, and worked with them in high school. And so corporate America was a little bit foreign to me, and read into that politics and personalities and drama and things like that. But I figured that out over time, and when I got to Wawa in an accounting role, it was really about learning process. So I went from accounting at big companies, working with pretty senior individuals, to really my first job at Wawa was with clerks. And their job was, we just had computer systems, was to get the weekly accounting, because retail is always on weekly accounting. Over the weekend, they'd get all the bills and invoices. We'd process the bills. And I was the first one on Monday evening to know what happened last week in the business from a financial perspective. And so that, I realized pretty quickly, was power. Knowledge is power. And so I used that to go and meet with our chief marketing and our chief operating officer. And I said, look, here's the report. Here's how we did last week. And they always want to know, and created relationships that way. Our chief marketing officer at the time was the individual who wrote this book, who ended up becoming a mentor of mine because of that. And if he were here, he'd say, hey, I wasn't good on the financial side, you were. And he was better on the marketing side. And so he taught me. But I really was just learning my way through the company. I had an opportunity to create our first planning and analysis team that centralized our analytics for Wawa and implemented our first fuel accounting system when we got into the fuel business in the mid-90s. So was involved in a lot, but I was always struck with how our work in accounting didn't so much show up on a financial statement, but how it impacted operations and what happened across hundreds of stores. So I took a liking to that. I ended up going into the field a lot, into stores, and teaching them about the income statement, or how what they did at store level manifested on the income statement, and that was powerful. I had an opportunity in 2007 to become CFO, and honestly, at that point, Paul, I thought I made it. I said I went and got my accounting degree. I'm in the number one finance role in a company, And here we are, and I was 35 years old and felt like, boy, and loved the company. We were growing. A couple years after that, the CEO, Howard at the time, came to me and said, I don't think you're done. Your career's not over. You got a lot more left in you, and I think you could be in this seat one day. And I was surprised he said that. So unbeknownst to me and the company at the time, he had told the board that he had a short tenure left as CEO, and they went through a succession process, and in 2011, I was appointed as the next president and CEO. And it was a wild process, very interesting. It was run what I would say an old-fashioned process. You wouldn't run it that way now. And that was, we really didn't know what was going on, but there were two of us internally that they basically split the company up in half, gave half to me, half to him, in essence, and said, best person wins. And it was pretty fascinating. So I was lucky enough to come out of that, and been in this role now for 12 years plus. But it could have been very different. There's, you always think about a career, and there's so many little points that you could have done something differently or approached something in another way, and your career would have taken a different turn. So read that there was a lot of luck involved in a lot of this. And, it wasn't just the grand plan when I graduated, say, I'm going to be a CEO of a big company one day. It's just the way it sort of worked out.
Yeah.